Admiral Quan Deho stood in the command center of Luna Station, staring at the massive screen that showed Earth hanging like a blue jewel in the darkness. He had served the Terran Defense Council for 20 years, but he had never seen a message like the one that had just arrived from deep space. The alien transmission crackled with static as it played for the third time. The creature speaking looked like a giant snake with arms, its scales shimmering green and gold under harsh lights. Its voice sounded like grinding metal when it spoke in perfect human language. "I am Ambassador Thexval of the Vorthak Galactic Empire," the alien said. "Your species has been observed. You have developed faster than light travel. This means you must now follow our rules." Quan watched as Director Han So-min walked into the command center. She was the head of Terran intelligence, and her face looked grim. Behind her came Dr. Park Jin-woo, humanity's top expert on alien life. They had both been studying the message for hours. "The demands are simple," Ambassador Thexval continued on the screen. "You will give us 40% of all resources from your planet Earth. You will give us 20% of your human population to work for the Empire. You will destroy all of your military ships and weapons. You have 1 solar cycle to comply. This is not a request. This is an order." The transmission ended with coordinates for where humanity should send their tribute. The silence in the command center felt heavy. "How many species have received messages like this?" Quan asked. Dr. Park checked his datapad. "According to our analysis of their transmission patterns, at least 847 different worlds. Maybe more. And how many refused?" Director Han looked up from her reports. "Based on what we can detect from deep space, maybe 15 species tried to fight back in the last 1,000 years. Their homeworlds are now dead rocks floating in space." Quan felt his stomach tighten. The Vorthak Empire controlled over 12,000 worlds. Humanity had barely reached the stars 50 years ago. Their entire fleet consisted of 37 exploration ships and a handful of small defense vessels. Against an empire that had crushed hundreds of civilizations, Earth seemed helpless. President Lee Hae-jin arrived at Luna Station 6 hours later. The emergency session of the Terran Council brought together leaders from every major nation on Earth. The debate room buzzed with worried voices speaking in dozens of languages. "We have to be realistic," said Counselor Singh from the Asian Federation. "They have 12,000 worlds. We have one. They have been conquering space for millennia. We just learned to build starships. If we give them what they want, we doom our children to slavery," argued Counselor Okafor from the African Union. 20% of our population means 2 billion people. They want to take 2 billion human beings. "Better than losing everyone," Counselor Martinez from South America replied. "Dead heroes cannot protect their families." The argument continued for hours. Some wanted to fight. Others wanted to surrender. A few suggested trying to negotiate for better terms. President Lee listened to every voice, her face growing more troubled with each passing hour. Finally, General Nam Kitei requested permission to speak. He was the commander of the Terran Marine Corps, a quiet man who rarely spoke in council meetings. When he stood up, the room went silent. "With respect to this council," General Nam said, "you are all thinking about this wrong." "What do you mean?" President Lee asked. "You assume our fleet is weak because it is small? You assume our technology is primitive because it is young? These assumptions may be incorrect." Director Han leaned forward. "General, our ships are exploration vessels. They have basic defensive weapons and light armor. The Vorthak message showed us images of their war fleets. Their smallest ships are larger than our biggest ones." General Nam smiled, but it was not a happy expression. "The aliens think they know what human warships look like. They have been watching our exploration ships and our defense patrols, but they have not been watching everything." He activated a hologram projector in the center of the room. The image showed a massive construction facility floating in space, hidden in the rings of Saturn. Enormous shapes moved in the darkness, too large to be normal ships. "For the past 15 years we have been preparing for this day," General Nam said, "not because we knew the aliens would come, but because we knew someone would eventually threaten Earth. The Project Steelstorm has been building something new, something the galaxy has never seen before." Admiral Quan stared at the hologram. The shapes in the Saturn shipyard were huge, but they were clearly under construction. "How many ships?" 12 are nearly complete. Each one is 15 kilometers long and carries enough firepower to level a continent. They are not fast. They are not pretty. But they are built to win wars. The council members looked at each other with uncertainty. Councillor Singh shook his head. 12 ships against thousands? That is still hopeless. Maybe, General Nam said. But these are not ordinary ships. They are designed around a simple human principle. When someone bigger than you wants to fight, you do not try to be faster or prettier. You hit them so hard that size stops mattering. President Lee studied the hologram for a long time. The massive shapes in the Saturn rings looked more like floating fortresses than starships. How long until they are ready? 6 months for full deployment. But the first 4 ships could launch in 3 months if necessary. The aliens gave us 1 solar cycle, Director Han said. That means we have almost a full Earth year. Dr. Park raised his hand. There is something else we should consider. The Vorthak message included technical specifications of their ships and weapons. They did this to intimidate us, but it also gives us valuable intelligence. Their technology relies heavily on energy weapons and speed. Our approach has been different. Different how? President Lee asked. Human military doctrine has always focused on armor and overwhelming firepower, Admiral Kwan explained. When we designed these new ships, we assumed our enemies would be faster than us, so we built them to absorb damage and return it with interest. The debate continued through the night, but the tide had turned. The council members began asking practical questions about the new warships instead of arguing about surrender. By morning, they had reached a decision. President Lee stood before the assembled leaders and spoke the words that would change human history. We will send our response to the Vorthak Empire today. We will tell them that tribute is denied. We will tell them that if they want something from humanity, they can come and take it. Admiral Kwan prepared the transmission personally. The message was simple and direct, recorded in the same format the aliens had used. President Lee looked straight into the camera and spoke clearly. Ambassador Thexval of the Vorthak Empire, humanity has received your demands. We reject them completely. We will not give you our resources. We will not give you our people. We will not surrender our weapons. If you want tribute from Earth, you are welcome to try and collect it. But know this. We will be sending our fleet to meet you. The transmission was broadcast toward Vorthak space that same day. In the command center of Luna Station, Admiral Kwan watched Earth turn slowly in the darkness and wondered if he had just declared war on the galaxy. General Nam stood beside him, looking at the same view. Do you think we can win? Kwan thought about the massive ships being built in secret around Saturn. He thought about humanity's long history of refusing to surrender when facing impossible odds. I think the aliens are about to learn something important about human beings. When you threaten our families, we do not calculate odds. We find ways to win. 6 months later, the Vorthak Empire would discover what General Nam meant when he said the galaxy had never seen ships like these before. But that was still in the future. For now, humanity had work to do. The Titan military shipyards floated in the ice rings of Saturn like a metal city. Chief Engineer Yoon Sang-hyuk stood on the observation deck, watching sparks fly as massive welding arms attached the final armor plates to the hull of humanity's first real warship. The ship stretched 15 kilometers from nose to tail, longer than most cities on Earth. Its hull was not made of normal metal. Instead, engineers had compressed neutronium into armor plates 3 meters thick. The result was a vessel that weighed more than some moons, but could survive almost anything the universe could throw at it. Status report, Yoon called to his engineering team. Main engines are online, reported engineer Kim Tae-yong. Black hole reactors stable. Artificial gravity is functioning on all decks. Weapons systems. All primary cannons are installed and tested, said weapons specialist Lee Sora. The main gun can accelerate a 50-ton projectile to 15% of light speed. Yoon nodded with satisfaction. The ship had no energy weapons like most alien vessels. Instead, it carried massive railguns that fired solid metal at incredible speeds. When something moving that fast hit a target, it did not matter how good their shields were. Physics always won. Captain Oh Min-ji walked onto the observation deck, still adjusting to her new uniform. She was young for a ship captain, only 35 years old, but she had earned her position by being the best tactical mind in the Terran Navy. The ship would be her responsibility once construction was complete. How does she look, Chief? Captain O asked. Like something that could fight a planet and win, Yoon replied. But she is not beautiful. We built her for war, not for pretty pictures. Captain O studied the massive vessel through the viewing window. The ship looked like what it was, a weapon designed to destroy anything that threatened Earth. Its black hull absorbed light, making it hard to see against the darkness of space. Weapon ports dotted its surface like the eyes of some giant predator. What about the crew quarters? Each ship can carry 10,000 Marines plus the naval crew, Engineer Kim reported. Full medical facilities, manufacturing workshops, and enough supplies to operate for 2 years without resupply. Manufacturing workshops? Engineer Kim smiled. These ships can build their own ammunition and spare parts. They can even construct small fighter craft if needed. We learned from studying alien technology that most species depend on supply lines. Human ships will be self-sufficient. Commander Shin Woo-jin arrived with a team of technicians carrying data tablets. He was responsible for the ship's artificial intelligence systems, the most advanced computers humanity had ever built. The AI would help coordinate weapons, navigation, and battle tactics faster than any human crew could manage alone. Aegis is ready for final testing, Commander Shin announced. The quantum neural networks are stable and responding to all command inputs. Aegis? Captain O asked. Advanced Electronic Guidance Intelligence System, Commander Shin explained. But the crew will probably just call it by name. The AI can process battlefield information from thousands of sources simultaneously. It can predict enemy movements, calculate optimal firing solutions, and coordinate with other ships in the fleet. A new voice spoke from the ship's communication system, calm and precise. Good afternoon, Captain O. I am Aegis. I have been monitoring construction progress and am eager to begin operational testing. Captain O looked surprised. The AI has personality? We designed it to work well with human crews, Commander Shin said. Aegis understands human psychology and can adapt its communication style to what works best in combat situations. I prefer to think of myself as pragmatic rather than emotional, Aegis added. Though I confess I find the prospect of testing my capabilities quite interesting. Dr. Choi Yeon-soo entered the observation area with Sergeant Major Kim Tae-won. She was the fleet's chief medical officer, responsible for keeping crews healthy during long space missions. Sergeant Major Kim commanded the Marine detachment that would be stationed on each ship. Medical facilities are ready, Dr. Choi reported. We have developed new combat stimulants that will allow crew members to fight effectively for weeks without sleep. The side effects are minimal and recovery time is short. What about the Marines? Captain O asked. Sergeant Major Kim straightened to attention. All Marine equipment has been tested in zero-gravity combat scenarios. New armor can withstand small arms fire and provides life support for 6 hours in vacuum. Weapons are designed specifically for fighting in ship corridors and alien environments. Have you considered what alien soldiers might be like? We studied the intelligence reports from Director Han's team, Sergeant Major Kim replied. Most alien species seem to focus on advanced technology rather than physical combat. They use energy weapons and rely on their ship's computers for tactics. Human Marines train for close combat with kinetic weapons. If we can get inside their ships, we should have significant advantages. Chief Engineer Yoon activated a holographic display showing all 12 ships under construction. 4 were nearly complete, ready for space trials within the month. The others would follow at 2-week intervals. Each ship is slightly different, Yoon explained. We are still learning what works best. The first ship, UES Defiance, carries the heaviest weapons. The second ship, UES Retribution, has additional armor. The third ship, UES Vengeance, has enhanced AI systems for fleet coordination. What about names for the others? Captain O asked. The council decided to let the crews choose, Yoon said. But they want names that send a clear message to anyone who threatens Earth. Names like Unstoppable, Relentless, Devastator. Aegis spoke again. I have analyzed historical human military naming conventions. Names that indicate determination and strength have positive psychological effects on both friendly and enemy forces. I recommend we continue this pattern. The group spent the next several hours touring the completed sections of UES Defiance. The ship was a maze of armored corridors, weapons batteries, and engineering spaces. Everything was built larger and stronger than necessary. Human designers had learned from centuries of warfare that equipment always broke down at the worst possible moment. The aliens will expect our ships to be fragile, Commander Shin observed as they walked through the heavily armored bridge. Most species build ships that are fast and efficient. Human ships are built to keep fighting even when half the systems are damaged. They reached the main gun deck where the ship's primary weapon dominated a space the size of a football stadium. The railgun was a marvel of human engineering. capable of accelerating projectiles to speeds that would make them devastating against any known armor. How accurate is it? Captain O asked. At combat ranges, Aegis can place a shot within 10 meters of the target, weapons specialist Lee replied. At longer ranges, we use guided projectiles that can adjust their course during flight. What about rate of fire? One shot every 30 seconds for the main gun. But we have 48 smaller railguns that can fire continuously, plus missile launchers, point defense systems, and the marine boarding pods. They finished the tour at the ship's manufacturing facility, where automated systems could produce everything from ammunition to replacement parts. Dr. Choi was particularly impressed by the medical manufacturing unit, which could create medicine and surgical equipment as needed. This changes everything about how we fight in space, she said. Traditional space warfare assumes ships must return to base for resupply and repairs. These ships can operate independently for years. As the day ended, Captain O stood alone on the observation deck, watching work crews make final preparations on UES Defiance. Tomorrow would bring the first test firing of the main gun, using one of Jupiter's smaller moons as a target. Aegis spoke quietly from the ship's speakers. Captain, I have been analyzing tactical scenarios based on available intelligence about Vorthak military capabilities. Would you like to review my preliminary assessments? What do you think our chances are? Unknown variables make precise calculations impossible. However, I believe human ship design philosophy provides significant advantages. Vorthak vessels appear to prioritize speed and energy efficiency. Human vessels prioritize durability and overwhelming firepower. And, in conflicts between different military philosophies, victory often goes to the side that can impose its preferred style of combat. Our ships are designed to force close-range engagements where armor and heavy weapons matter more than speed and agility. Captain O nodded. What about their numerical superiority? Quantity has a quality all its own, as human military theorists have observed. However, if our individual ships can destroy multiple enemy vessels before being defeated, numerical ratios become less important. The next morning, UES Defiance conducted its first weapons test. The target was a small moon orbiting Jupiter, approximately 50 kilometers in diameter. Captain O gave the firing command from the ship's bridge, now fully operational with its human crew. Aegis, target the center of the moon. Single shot from the main gun. Targeting solution calculated. Firing in 3, 2, 1. Firing. The railgun fired with almost no sound, just a deep vibration that ran through the ship's hull. 50 tons of tungsten accelerated down the 15-kilometer barrel, reaching incredible speed before emerging into space. The projectile crossed the distance. War Admiral Krexthul of the Vorthak Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying the readings from the human solar system. He had conquered 47 different species during his military career, and he had never seen anything like what the monitoring stations reported. They destroyed an entire moon with a single weapon? He asked his tactical officer. Confirmed, War Admiral. The projectile impact created an explosion equivalent to several thousand nuclear weapons. The target moon was completely vaporized. Krexthul's scales rippled with what humans might have recognized as amusement. Impressive but irrelevant. One powerful weapon does not make a fleet. How many of these human warships have been detected? 12 large vessels, Admiral. Each approximately 15 kilometers in length. They are positioned in defensive formation beyond the orbit of their outermost planet. 12 ships, Krexthul repeated. Against my demonstration fleet of 200 vessels. The humans are either very brave or very stupid. His demonstration fleet was not the Empire's main military force, but it was more than enough to destroy any resistance from a primitive species. 200 ships, each one larger than the biggest vessels most species could build. Energy weapons that could burn through any known armor. Shields that could absorb massive amounts of damage. The Vorthak had used the same tactics for centuries. Show overwhelming force. Demand surrender. Crush any resistance quickly and brutally. It had worked on 847 worlds. It would work on this one too. Admiral Quan Deho watched the alien fleet approach on the main display aboard UES Defiance. The Vorthak ships were impressive, sleek, fast vessels that moved through space like silver fish swimming through dark water. Their formation was precise, their technology clearly advanced. 200 ships confirmed, reported Lieutenant Commander Park Soo-young from the tactical station. They are maintaining standard approach formation. No sign they consider us a serious threat. Good, Admiral Kwan replied. Aegis analysis of enemy vessels? The artificial intelligence responded immediately. Vorthak ships prioritize speed and energy weapons. Hull composition suggests lightweight materials for maximum maneuverability. Estimated armor thickness is minimal compared to human standards. Captain Ominji stood beside Admiral Kwan, studying the enemy formation. They are spreading out to surround us. Classic intimidation tactic. Let them, Admiral Kwan said. The farther apart their ships are, the harder it will be for them to support each other. The Vorthak fleet took 6 hours to reach the outer edge of the human solar system. They moved in perfect formation, clearly confident that their numerical superiority would end any resistance quickly. War Admiral Krexthul opened a communication channel to the human ships. His image appeared on the main screen of UES Defiance, a massive reptilian creature with golden scales and cold, intelligent eyes. When he spoke, his voice carried the authority of someone who had never been refused. Human vessels, I am War Admiral Krexthul of the Vorthak Empire. You have refused to pay tribute as demanded by Ambassador Thexval. This resistance ends now. Surrender immediately, or your ships will be destroyed and your planet will be bombarded from orbit. Admiral Kwan stepped forward to respond. He was a small human compared to the alien War Admiral, but his voice carried absolute determination. War Admiral Krexthul, I am Admiral Kwan Deho of the Terran Defense Fleet. You came here demanding tribute from humanity. We told you we would send our fleet instead. Here we are. Krexthul's scales shifted color, showing his confusion. You have 12 ships. I have 200. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. You wanted tribute, Admiral Kwan replied. Here it is. He cut the communication channel and turned to Captain O. All ships, battle stations, weapons free. Show them what tribute looks like when humans deliver it. The battle began when War Admiral Krexthul ordered his fastest ships to attack the human formation. 20 Vorthak destroyers accelerated toward UES Defiance, their energy weapons charging for maximum impact. They expected the human ships to either flee or return fire with similar energy weapons. Instead, UES Defiance rotated slowly to bring its main gun to bear on the approaching enemy vessels. Captain O studied the tactical display and selected her target. Aegis, firing solution for the lead enemy ship. Single-shot main gun. Solution calculated. Firing. The railgun fired its 50-ton projectile at 15% of light speed. The Vorthak destroyer had no time to maneuver. The tungsten slug passed completely through the alien ship, then continued into the destroyer behind it, then through a third ship before finally losing momentum. 3 enemy vessels simply ceased to exist, transformed into expanding clouds of superheated debris. War Admiral Krexthul stared at his tactical display in shock. What kind of weapon was that? Unknown, Admiral. No energy signature detected. Appears to be a kinetic projectile weapon of unprecedented power. Impossible. No species uses kinetic weapons in space combat. They are too slow and inaccurate. But even as he spoke, the other human ships were firing similar weapons. UES Retribution destroyed 2 more Vorthak vessels with a single shot. UES Vengeance fired a spread of smaller projectiles that tore through an enemy cruiser like it was made of paper. All ships, concentrate fire on the human flagship, Krexthul ordered. Overwhelm their defenses with multiple attacks. 50 Vorthak ships turned their energy weapons on UES Defiance. Particle beams and plasma cannons struck the human vessel's hull with enough force to destroy a small moon. The massive ship disappeared in a blinding flash of energy and superheated gas. Target destroyed, reported the Vorthak tactical officer. But as the energy dissipated, UES Defiance emerged from the explosion completely undamaged. Its black hull had absorbed the energy attack without even losing its armor plating. Captain O smiled grimly. Our turn. All weapons fire at will. The human ship unleashed hell. 48 smaller railguns fired continuously, sending streams of projectiles into the Vorthak formation. Each shot was guided by Aegis, finding targets with mechanical precision. Missiles followed the kinetic rounds, their warheads designed specifically to exploit weaknesses in alien ship design. Lieutenant Colonel Bayek Inho led the first boarding action in galactic warfare. His assault pod launched from UES Defiance and crossed the space between ships in minutes. The pod's drill nose punched through the hull of a Vorthak cruiser, and human marines poured into the alien vessel. The Vorthak crew had never faced physical invasion of their ships. Their training focused on ship-to-ship combat using energy weapons. They had no experience fighting armored soldiers in their own corridors. Sergeant Major Kim Tae-won followed the first assault team, his Marines carrying kinetic weapons designed for close combat. The aliens' energy weapons were powerful but slow to charge. Human assault rifles fired hundreds of rounds per minute. "This is insane," one Vorthak officer transmitted to his flagship. "They are inside our ship. They are fighting us hand to hand. What kind of species does this?" War Admiral Krexthul tried to adapt his tactics to the human way of fighting. "All ships maintain distance. Use long-range weapons only. Do not allow them to board our vessels." But the humans had anticipated this response. Commander Park Soo-young coordinated the fleet's point defense systems, using Aegis to track every incoming projectile and energy beam. Thousands of small guns turned missiles into scrap metal before they could reach their targets. "Admiral," she reported to Kwan, "enemy weapons are having minimal effect. Our armor is absorbing their energy attacks and our point defense is stopping their missiles. What about their shields?" "They do not appear to have any defense against kinetic weapons. Their shields stop energy, but solid projectiles pass right through." Admiral Kwan realized the fundamental difference between human and alien warfare. The Vorthak had developed their technology to fight other species that used similar energy-based weapons. They had never encountered opponents who threw chunks of metal at incredible speeds. "All ships press the attack. Show them what happens when they threaten Earth." Captain O demonstrated another human innovation. U.S. Defiance made a precision faster-than-light jump, appearing directly in the path of 3 fleeing Vorthak vessels. The massive human ship was moving too fast for the aliens to avoid collision. The impact crushed all 3 enemy ships against the human vessel's armored hull. U.S. Defiance barely registered the collisions, its neutronium armor designed to survive much worse punishment. Ramming speed? War Admiral Krexthul could not believe what he was seeing. They are using their ships as weapons? What kind of madness is this? The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, only 3 ships from the Vorthak demonstration fleet remained intact. War Admiral Krexthul's flagship was badly damaged, limping away from the battle at reduced speed. His final transmission was broadcast on all frequencies, ensuring that intelligence services throughout the galaxy would intercept it. "Command, this is War Admiral Krexthul. The human fleet has been encountered. Requesting immediate reinforcement. 200 ships, 3 survivors. They are not. They fight like nothing we have." Admiral Kwan watched the surviving alien ships flee toward their home territory. Around him, the bridge crew of UES Defiance worked efficiently to assess damage and casualties. "Status report," he ordered. "Minimal Dama." Supreme Admiral Vorthkes of the Vorthak Empire stood in the Grand War Chamber, studying holographic displays that showed the assembled might of 12,000 worlds. Never before in the Empire's history had such a massive fleet been gathered in one place. 8,000 warships floated in formation around the Vorthak homeworld. Dreadnoughts the size of cities, carriers packed with fighter squadrons, destroyer fleets that could sterilize entire planets. The Grand Armada represented centuries of conquest and technological advancement. Status of the human solar system? Supreme Admiral Vorthkes asked his intelligence staff. "Long-range sensors confirm 12 human vessels remain in defensive positions," reported Intelligence Chief Yithmar. "No additional ships have been detected since the destruction of War Admiral Krexthul's demonstration fleet. 12 ships destroyed 200 of our vessels?" "Confirmed, Supreme Admiral. Analysis of the battle recordings indicates the humans use primitive kinetic weapons with extraordinary power. Their ships appear to be heavily armored but slow and clumsy." Vorthkes studied the tactical reports with growing anger. The Vorthak Empire had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. No primitive species had ever inflicted such losses on Imperial forces. The humans would pay for their resistance with the complete destruction of their world. "Prepare the planet-killer weapons," he ordered. "When we finish with their ships, we will crack their planet open and scatter the pieces across space. This insurrection ends now." Meanwhile, in the human solar system, activity proceeded at an incredible pace. Director Han Somin stood in the command center of Luna Station, coordinating intelligence operations across dozens of star systems. "What did we learn from the captured Vorthak ships?" she asked Dr. Park Jinwoo. "Their technology is more advanced than ours in some areas, but they have critical weaknesses," Dr. Park replied. "Their computer systems are vulnerable to certain types of electronic warfare. Their life support systems cannot handle human-manufactured toxins. Most importantly, their military doctrine has not changed in centuries, meaning they fight the same way against every opponent. Energy weapons, speed, numerical superiority. They have never adapted their tactics because they have never needed to. General Nam Ki-tai entered the command center with updated status reports from the fleet construction yards. The hidden shipyards have been working around the clock. We now have 200 Ironclad-class battleships and 500 Predator-class destroyers. Director Han looked surprised. Where did we get the resources to build so many ships? We have been mining asteroids and outer system moons for 15 years, General Nam explained. The manufacturing facilities around Saturn, Jupiter, and Uranus have been operating in complete secrecy. Every piece of metal we could extract has gone into ship construction. Admiral Kwan arrived with Captain O and the other ship commanders. They had been conducting training exercises with the new fleet, learning to coordinate hundreds of vessels in space combat. How do they handle? General Nam asked. The Predator-class destroyers are fast and deadly, Captain O replied. Not as heavily armored as the Ironclads, but they can hit hard and move quickly. Captain Lee Junseo has been testing their weapon systems. Captain Lee stepped forward. Each destroyer carries 20 railguns and advanced AI targeting. They are designed to work in groups, overwhelming enemy ships with coordinated attacks. What about the new Ironclads? Even more powerful than the original 12, Admiral Kwan said. The engineers incorporated lessons learned from the first battle. Thicker armor, more weapons, better point defense systems. Aegis spoke from the command center's communication system. Analysis of Vorthak reinforcement patterns suggests they are assembling a massive fleet in their home system. Estimated strength is between 6,000 and 10,000 vessels. Director Han felt her stomach drop. 10,000 ships? Possibly more, Aegis confirmed. However, our intelligence analysis indicates most of these vessels are older, designs with the same technological limitations we exploited in the first battle. Dr. Park activated a holographic display showing detailed schematics of Vorthak ship designs. We have developed specific countermeasures for their technology. New computer viruses that can infect their systems through communication channels. Biological weapons designed to affect their crew. Most importantly, we understand their tactical doctrine, which is, they will try to surround our fleet and destroy us through overwhelming numbers. They expect us to fight defensively, trying to protect Earth. General Nam smiled. But we are not going to fight defensively. Admiral Kwan nodded. Operation Steel Rain launches in 72 hours. We hit their staging areas before they can organize their main attack. Captain Lee and Captain Kim Hae-won led the first wave of Operation Steel Rain. Their Predator class, destroyers made precision faster than light, jumps to Vorthak supply bases in 3 different star systems. The aliens had no warning before human ships appeared in the middle of their formations. Target the supply ships first, Captain Lee ordered over the fleet communication channel. Without fuel and ammunition, their main fleet cannot operate effectively. The human destroyers moved through the alien supply convoys like sharks through schools of fish. Their railguns fired continuously, destroying transport vessels and tankers with methodical precision. Vorthak escort ships tried to respond, but they had never faced opponents who appeared without warning in the middle of defended space. Captain Kim coordinated attacks on the alien communication networks. Aegis deployed the computer viruses through their command channels. Viruses deployed. Vorthak communication systems are experiencing cascading failures. Their coordination is breaking down. The raids lasted only 6 hours, but they crippled the Vorthak Empire's ability to supply their massive fleet. Hundreds of transport ships were destroyed. Fuel depots were vaporized. Communication networks collapsed across 6 star systems. Supreme Admiral Vorthkes received the reports with growing rage. They attack our supply lines? What kind of species fights this way? The raids were precisely coordinated, Intelligence Chief Yithmar reported. The humans knew exactly where to strike for maximum effect. They must have intelligence sources throughout our territory. Impossible. No species has ever penetrated our security networks. But even as he spoke, Vorthkes knew something fundamental had changed. The humans fought unlike any opponent the Empire had ever faced. They used tactics that violated every rule of civilized warfare. Launch the Grand Armada immediately, he ordered. We will crush them before they can launch more raids. The Vorthak fleet departed their home system in the largest military operation in galactic history. 8,000 ships arranged in perfect formation. moving toward the human solar system with overwhelming force. They arrived to find the human fleet waiting for them in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. But instead of 12 ships, the aliens now faced 200 massive ironclads supported by 500 smaller destroyers. Supreme Admiral Vorth stared at his tactical displays in disbelief. Where did they get so many ships? Unknown, Admiral. Long-range sensors confirm 700 human vessels in defensive formation, 700 against 8,000, still acceptable odds. But Admiral Kwan had no intention of fighting a defensive battle. As the Vorthak fleet approached, the human ships scattered in all directions, forcing the aliens to divide their forces to pursue them. All ships, execute Battle Plan Omega, Admiral Kwan broadcast to his fleet. Show them what human tactics look like. The battle that followed lasted 18 hours and redefined space warfare forever. Human ships used the asteroid belt as cover, appearing from behind space rocks to fire devastating volleys before disappearing again. Aegis coordinated the attacks with inhuman precision, treating the battle like a mathematical problem to be solved. Captain O led a squadron of ironclads in a direct assault on the Vorthak command ship. UES Defiance and 5 sister ships made a coordinated faster-than-light jump, appearing directly in front of Supreme Admiral Vorthkess's flagship. Impossible, Vorthkess breathed. No one can make precision jumps in the middle of a battle. UES Defiance fired its main gun at point-blank range. The 50-ton projectile punched through the Vorthak flagship's shields and armor, as if they were made of paper. The massive alien ship broke apart in a chain of explosions that lit up the entire asteroid belt. Commander Shin coordinated electronic warfare attacks that turned the aliens' advanced technology against them. Human computer viruses spread through Vorthak communication networks, causing their ships to fire on each other or shut down critical systems at crucial moments. Sergeant Major Kim led boarding parties that captured dozens of alien vessels intact. Human Marines fought through ship corridors with ruthless efficiency, their kinetic weapons devastating to aliens who had no experience with close combat. They are inside our ships again, one Vorthak captain transmitted desperately. How do we fight enemies who come aboard our vessels? The answer was simple: they could not. Vorthak military training had never included repelling boarders, because no species had ever attempted such tactics. Dr. Choi treated wounded crew members as human ships rammed directly through enemy formations. The ironclad's massive hulls and neutronium armor allowed them to. Emperor Korthval of the Vorthak Empire stood in the ruins of his throne room, staring at the holographic message that had just arrived from the human fleet. The massive chamber, once filled with tributes from 1,000 conquered worlds, now felt empty and cold. The human admiral who appeared in the hologram was the same one who had destroyed 2 Vorthak fleets. Admiral Kwan Deho spoke with quiet authority that somehow seemed more threatening than any angry shout. Emperor Korthval, the Terran Defense Fleet is currently in orbit around your homeworld. Your Grand Armada has been destroyed. Your military forces have surrendered. We are prepared to accept your formal capitulation. The Emperor's advisors cowered behind their stations, afraid to meet his eyes. 3,000 years of galactic dominance had ended in less than 1 year. The empire that had conquered 12,000 worlds had been defeated by a species that barely knew how to travel between stars. What are their terms? The Emperor asked his remaining staff. Chancellor Yexmorth consulted the human message with trembling hands. They demand the immediate cessation of all tribute collection from subject worlds, complete disarmament of Imperial military forces, reparations to be paid to species harmed by Imperial conquest, and the establishment of human military bases throughout former Imperial territory. They want to rule the galaxy? No, my Emperor. They say they want to prevent any future empires from demanding tribute from innocent species. They call it galactic peacekeeping. President Lee Hai-jin arrived at Luna Station aboard the presidential transport, accompanied by a full diplomatic delegation. The formal surrender ceremony would take place in the same chamber where humanity had decided to reject the Vorthak ultimatum. 1 year ago, Director Han So-min presented her final intelligence analysis of the fallen empire. The Vorthak controlled 12,000 worlds through fear and overwhelming military force. With their fleet destroyed, subject species are declaring independence across the galaxy. We estimate that over half of their former territory is now free. What about resistance from die-hard Imperial forces? Minimal, Director Han replied. Most Vorthak military commanders have seen the battle recordings. They know they cannot win against human tactics and technology. The few who refuse to surrender are being hunted down by our Predator-class destroyer squadrons. Admiral Kwan, now promoted to Supreme Commander of the Terran Galactic Fleet, outlined humanity's new responsibilities. We have over 1,000 ships operational with more under construction. Our bases are established in 47 star systems. Every former Imperial world is under human protection. Can we handle that kind of responsibility? President Lee asked. We have to. General Nam replied. If we withdraw now, other empires will move in to fill the vacuum. The galaxy will return to the old system of conquest and tribute. We cannot allow that to happen. Dr. Park Jin-woo presented the results of his xenobiological research program. We have made contact with representatives from over 800 species that were formerly under Vorthak control. Most are eager to establish diplomatic relations with humanity. They see us as liberators rather than conquerors. What do they want from us? Protection mainly. Also access to human technology and military training. Many species want to develop their own defense capabilities to prevent future conquest. The formal surrender ceremony took place 6 months later. Emperor Korthval himself traveled to Luna Station, accompanied by a small escort of unarmed ships. The once mighty ruler of the galaxy now looked old and defeated. President Lee met him in the diplomatic reception chamber, with Admiral Kwan and the other human leadership in attendance. The Emperor's reptilian features showed exhaustion and resignation. President Lee, Emperor Korthval said, I formally surrender the Vorthak Empire to human authority. Our military forces will comply with all disarmament orders. Our worlds will pay the agreed reparations to species we have wronged. What will happen to your people? President Lee asked. That is for you to decide. We are at your mercy. President Lee had prepared for this moment. The Vorthak people will not be punished for the crimes of their government. Your worlds will be free to govern themselves but under human protection. Your military will be limited to local defense forces. You will never again demand tribute from other species. The Emperor looked surprised. You are not going to enslave us? Execute our leadership? Destroy our worlds. That is not how humans wage war, Admiral Kwan explained. We fight to win, but we do not fight to destroy innocent people. Your empire is ended, but your species will survive. Ambassador Thexval, the same alien who had delivered the original ultimatum to humanity, requested a private meeting with President Lee. The serpentine diplomat looked very different from the arrogant creature who had demanded Earth's surrender. President Lee, I wish to formally request political asylum with the human government. Why? Because I have seen what freedom looks like. I have studied human history and political systems. I want to be part of building a galaxy where species cooperate instead of conquering each other. President Lee studied the alien diplomat. You were our enemy. I was a servant of the Empire. But the Empire is gone, and I have learned that there are better ways to live. Will you give me the chance to prove that even former enemies can find redemption? The request was approved. Ambassador Thexval became the first alien to receive human citizenship, eventually serving as a translator and cultural advisor for diplomatic missions to other species. Captain Ominji stood on the bridge of UES Defiance, now serving as the flagship of the Terran Galactic Patrol. Her ship was preparing to depart for the unknown regions beyond former Imperial space, leading humanity's first peaceful exploration mission in over a year. Navigation, set course for the Andromeda approach vector, she ordered. Aye, Captain. Course laid in. Aegis spoke from the ship's communication system. Captain, I have been analyzing long-range sensor data from the target region. There are indications of advanced civilizations beyond the former Imperial borders. Hostile? Unknown. However, our mission parameters specify peaceful contact and diplomatic engagement. This will be an interesting change from our previous assignments. Captain O smiled. Agreed. It will be nice to explore space without having to shoot at anything. The exploration mission launched with great ceremony. Representatives from dozens of species gathered at Luna Station to witness humanity's transition from military conquest to peaceful exploration. Many of the aliens present had been freed from Vorthak rule by human intervention. Dr. Choi had been promoted to Director of Interspecies Medical Research, working to develop treatments that could help different alien biologies. Her teams operated throughout the former empire, healing the damage caused by centuries of oppression. Sergeant Major Kim, now General Kim, commanded the Galactic Peace Corps, human military unit stationed throughout the galaxy to prevent future conflicts. His soldiers were trained for peacekeeping rather than conquest, though they were still equipped with the devastating weapons that had defeated the Vorthak. Commander Shin directed the Galactic Information Network, a communication system that connected thousands of worlds and allowed instant coordination of peaceful activities. The same AI technology that had won space battles now helped coordinate trade, diplomacy, and cultural exchange. Chief Engineer Yoon led massive construction projects to rebuild worlds damaged by Imperial exploitation. Human manufacturing technology, designed to build warships in space, proved equally effective at constructing cities, hospitals, and schools on liberated planets. The galaxy had changed completely in just 18 months. Where once the Vorthak Empire had demanded tribute, human ships now delivered aid to struggling civilizations. Where Imperial fleets had brought conquest, human explorers brought opportunities for cooperation. But the most important change was philosophical. The galaxy had learned that military superiority did not have to mean oppression. The steel monsters that had terrified the Vorthak Empire now served as protectors for species that had never known freedom. Admiral Kwan, now serving as humanity's senior military commander, established the doctrine that would guide human policy for generations. His words were broadcast to every world in the galaxy. The Terran Galactic Fleet exists to ensure that no species will ever again be forced to pay tribute to conquerors. We do not seek to rule others. We seek to protect their right to rule themselves. Any group that threatens peaceful civilizations will face the same response that destroyed the Vorthak Empire. The message was accompanied by images of human warships now, numbering in the thousands, patrolling throughout galactic space. The black hulls bearing simple inscriptions had become symbols of hope rather than fear. UE's defiance carried the inscription, "Never Again." UES retribution bore the words, "Freedom's Price." US vengeance displayed justice served. Hundreds of other ships carried similar messages, reminding the galaxy that humanity's steel monsters stood ready to defend the innocent. Captain O's exploration mission discovered that the galaxy was far larger than anyone had imagined. Beyond the former Vorthak territory lay thousands of additional star systems, many containing civilizations that had never heard of the Empire or its demands for tribute. Her final log entry, transmitted back to Earth as UES Defiance crossed